Thank you very much. Mr. President, I'm used to saying that, Mr. President. Well, thank you very much. Jim and Dennis, also Rick Blockers. Where's Rick? He's here somewhere. Rick, good to see you, man. And Mayor Duggan, my good buddy, is here. I know he spoke earlier, and Carl Levin and Sandy Levin and the guy who has taught me an awful lot over the years, the United States Congress, John Conyers. John, good to see you, buddy. And Gary Peters is here as well, soon to be in another job. Look, it's an honor to be back in Detroit, and I mean that. You folks have had my back, labor has had my back my entire career. And it's good to be back with the people who, as that old saying goes, brung me to the dance. I appreciate it. You know, I had an uncle named Ed Finnegan. He used to look at me after I got involved in politics. He said, Joey, he said, you're labor from belt buckle to shoe sole. And I am. And that's because the fact is that I still know how to say the word union. U-N-I-O-N, union. Because the truth of the matter is, we talk about unions, I talk about them, and sometimes the press asks me, why don't I talk about workers? Well, I'll tell you what, I talk about unions because you're the reason why every other American worker has any of the basic rights they have. It's because of unions. Had auto workers not fought the Battle of the Overpass at River Rouge plant 77 years ago, we might not have passed the Fair Labor Standards Act. Had the Teamsters and AFSCME and the building trades and every single union here not taken to the streets when they had to, generation after generation, to pressure for expanse of the rights of workers, we wouldn't have, as Jimmy's pointed out, the 40-hour week. Child labor laws would not exist. Worker safety standards would not exist. Overtime pay, minimum wage, and the list goes on and on. Not only would none of these rights exist for you, but they wouldn't exist for any workers. And Americans who thought they would be taken care of by their companies, who didn't think they needed unions, are now figuring out. They're now figuring out what you did for them. You know, it's overused, but the truth is, it's not hyperbole. Unions did, in fact, build the middle class. And that built, and here's what that did. That built the United States of America as we know it. You know, you notice they always refer to me in the press as middle-class Joe. As my colleagues can tell you, in Washington, that's not viewed as a compliment. That means you're not sophisticated, okay? And I get asked by the press why I'm always talking about middle class, why I'm talking about poor people or good, wealthy people. Well, let me tell you, if the middle class is doing fine, everybody does fine. The wealthy get very wealthy, and the poor, they have a way up. But here's the most important thing people are only beginning now to focus on. And I mean not just progressives, not just Democrats, but everybody starting to get it here and around the world. That the middle class is the reason why America, unlike any other nation in the 20th century and into the 21st century, has been so stable economically, politically, and socially. The reason why is the rest of the world was riled by changes. As long as in America, you actually believe like my dad did, that if you worked at it, you'd get a fair shake. As long as you believed that if you played by the rules and you busted your neck, you could make it. That's the glue that held all this together. That's why from day one, when the President and I took office as President and Vice President, the middle class has been the focus. Because folks, the middle class is in real trouble now. Real trouble. But the truth is It's been in trouble and declining, not just in this Great Recession, but before that as well. We've been chipped away at constantly, just like unions have. There's a correlation. That's why we fought to turn back the tide with this Great Recession of the foreclosures. That's why we got capital off the sidelines and built infrastructure in the Recovery Act, which I might add worked. That's why we passed Wall Street reform. That's why the Justice Department continues to prosecute the largest banks for what they did wrong. And that's why, Dennis, we had the UAWs back as you made incredible sacrifices to save the automobile industry. You saved the automobile industry. Were it not for the sacrifices labor made, it would have never happened. But folks, if you listen to the other side, this, I call them the new Republican Party. This is not your father's Republican Party. The recession, if you listen to them, here in Michigan and Ohio, because I've been here a lot and campaigned through in the presidential here, starting in 2010, all through the Midwest and the industrial states, what'd they do? They said, you're the reason for the recession, remember? No, I'm not joking. It wasn't Wall Street going unregulated and subprime mortgage. It was not the lack of enforcement of holding the Titans to basic standards. Somehow it was you. When companies were unbolting their equipment and moving overseas, they claimed it was because you were fighting for a basic living wage and they had to go somewhere else. And in the process, beginning back in the 90s, they declared war on Labor's House. Now, I said that, speaking of the UAW convention about 10, 15 years ago, and everybody thought I was exaggerating, but I meant it literally. There's been a war on Labor's House because you are the only counterbalancing weight out there. So it's no surprise, as they succeeded and membership and unions in this country declined, even less of a surprise was the standard of living for the middle class began to go down, decline. Let me give you an example. In 1968, union membership was at 28%. And at that time, that meant middle-class people, they earned 52 of every $100 earned in America. 52% of everything earned in America, the middle class earned. But as union membership fell constantly, now down to 11%, the middle class now only shares 45% of all that's earned in America. This new Republican Party in the National Chamber of Commerce has been asking the wrong questions. They've gotten the press to ask the wrong questions. They've gotten all of us to ask the wrong questions. They ask the question, you know, there used to be, the questions that they ask are ones that don't make any sense. There used to be a basic bargain in America, folks. That basic bargain was when everybody who contributed to the profitability of a company, they got to share in the deal. That was the basic bargain. That was the bargain that was set out here a long time ago. But as they have moved to cut union membership, as they have moved, this new Republican Party has everybody asking questions like, are unions too strong? No, think about this. Think about what you read and see in the paper. You hear a question like, are corporations overtaxed? What the hell are we talking about? But guess what? That's the debate. Are they overtaxed? We hear, is Wall Street overregulated? How many times have you heard that in the last 10 years? Somehow, the reason why we're not coming back faster is we've regulated these guys too much. Ladies and gentlemen, look, we're going to start asking the right questions. The right questions are, is it right for an American corporation that's benefited from the infrastructure, from the labor, from the stability of the United States of America, is it right for them to pick up and move their headquarters to another country just to get a tax break? Why did corporations used to shoulder 33% of the tax burden in America, and now they're only shouldering 10%. Why? Why, when American corporation profits have skyrocketed to over $1,800 billion, why are they only investing 9% of all those profits in expansion, in wages, in research and development? 91% goes to CEO salaries and to stockholders. What's wrong with this picture, folks? The question we should ask, and Dennis basically asked it, was why do CEOs now make 333 times more money than a line worker when back when Reagan was president, they made 25 times what the line worker? What happened? What happened? Why on earth has corporate productivity gone up 8 times faster than your salaries over the last 35 years? Folks, I need some water, but I don't want to stop. Folks, and why in God's name, this is the question we've got to get the people focusing on. Why in God's name does someone who makes tens of millions of dollars managing a hedge fund pay only 15% in taxes, while a GM worker earning $55,000 pays 25% in taxes? Folks, America's always done best when we've acted as one America. Because when we do, the nation succeeds. When everyone's contributing their fair share, America's always grown. But over the last couple decades, things have gotten way out of whack. The tax code is tilted to people who invest their money and are not out breaking their back earning their money, so-called unearned income versus earned income. The tax code is tilted to inherited wealth instead of take-home pay. Since 2000, the gross domestic product, that's all we make in America, has gone up 29%. Productivity in America is up 36%. But wages have gone up 15 cents.
Come on, man, take a break.
15 cents. Folks, there's something wrong with this picture. Look, you know, it's not just Joe Biden and the Levins and the guys behind me in the mirror asking these questions finally. Even Wall Street's starting to ask these questions. You know, there's an outfit called Standard & Poor's, a leading financial services group. It says U.S. income inequity has reached levels not seen since 1928. That means the very, very top 1% are making so much more disproportionately than the rest of the public. So a lot of the wealthy guys say, so what? Well, they went on to say, and I quote, extreme levels of income inequity lead to sustained harm to economic growth and over a long period of time. It says the U.S. is approaching the threshold. One of the reasons we're not growing is because ordinary people have no money in their pockets for their wages. They are not being rewarded. Folks, look, we've got to restore the bargain. It started here in Detroit, established by labor. There was a consensus among Democrats and Republicans. It used to exist that if you contributed, you got to benefit from that contribution. You provided the greatest incentive for growth of any time in American history when you were strong. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to restore that bargain, because the truth of the matter is, if we don't, America's in real trouble. Not just workers, all of America is in real trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why it's so important to restore the bargain right now is because America is coming back. Now, here's the deal, though. It's coming back, but this new surge that you're going to see, we better damn well make sure workers are a piece of it. And here's how it works. Look. Just in the last 6 years, American manufacturing is coming back to the United States. It's coming home. We started right here in Detroit. Because of the sacrifices you all made, we added 465,000 jobs to the automobile industry, and we added a total of 707,000 new manufacturing jobs. Now, there's a reason they're coming back. Because American workers are 3 times as productive by every study as Chinese workers. Because the United States is becoming the epicenter of energy in the world. The future of energy in the world is here in the United States in this century, not in Saudi Arabia. And the reason that matters, it means that companies can come back, make the same product that they would make in Europe, and they spend 3 times less in energy cost. They come back from China, they spend 7 times less in energy cost. Folks, look, there's an outfit called the Boston Consulting Group, a firm that does all the consulting for these big guys. You know what they say? Every year they go out and they survey every manufacturer who has a plant in China. And they say, what are your plans? This year they conducted that survey. 54% of American corporations with invested in China say they plan on coming home to the United States of America. But folks, here's the deal. That means jobs, but not jobs at basically minimum wage. Not jobs without benefits. Not jobs without growth. Not being able to share in the wealth that you create. You know, there's another outfit that does this survey. They ask international businesses around the world, what's the best place in the world to invest? Overwhelmingly, I'm serious, these are corporations, these are companies, international business, they say America. The reason I focus on this, guys, is we got to be ready to take advantage and reestablish the deal as these guys come back. We can't keep the same deal that exists now. We can't have America and corporations growing and you not getting a fair share of what you've earned. Look, folks, instead of cutting the estate, you know, we just cut the estate tax 6 years ago. That is the inherited wealth. We cut it by $1.8 trillion. At the same, instead of cutting the estate tax, we should be building infrastructure in this country. Roads, bridges, ports. You know, ladies and gentlemen, organized labor is a critical part of the workforce. And as my dad used to say, and I'll end with this, my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about your place in your community. It's about who you are. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. That's what a job is about. And ladies and gentlemen, you can't do that unless you get a fair wage. Ladies and gentlemen, look, I know I'm out of sync here because I continue to believe that middle class is not a number. It's not exactly how much you make. It's a value set. To be middle class where I come from, in Scranton, Pennsylvania, or Claymont, Delaware, means you get to own your home. It means you get to send your kid to a decent school that if they do well and they want to go to college, you can afford to send them to college. It means being able to take care of your parents if they get sick. It means maybe being able to save enough so you hope your kids never have to take care of you. That's what middle class means. But you know what the pollsters tell me now? They say the middle class has a different view, that they don't want to own their home anymore. They don't want to be, because of the burden. They don't want to send their kid to college because it's not worth it, etc. Folks, the American people have not stopped dreaming. The American people have not walked away from what they believe they are entitled to. Just give them a chance. No handout, just give them a chance. Because once you give Americans a chance, they have never, 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 ever let their country down. Never. So, folks, it's time to take back America, as was said. It's time to change the tax code. It's time to make sure you get an equal share. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't, America's in trouble. And we've always done best when we act as one America, everybody in the deal, everybody. And as long as I'm around, as long as the guys behind me are around, we're going to fight with every breath in us to make sure we reestablish the bargain. God bless you. Don't give up. Keep dreaming. We're going to come back.